Good morning, students. This is the second part of lesson 1, history. What, where, how, and when. Students, in my previous video, part 1, we studied what are the sources of history, how the historians collect the informations about the past, and many other such questions. We got the answers in last session. Today's point to begin is names of the land. Names of the land, to find how this land part of our country, it got the name. As we know, it is being called India and Bharat. So there are two theories regarding the names of this land. The two theories are like the words we often use for our country are India and Bharat. The word India comes from the Indus called Sindhu in Sanskrit. Then in past, in the history, many foreign travels, many foreign visitors, they came to India, and among them the Iranians were also one of them. They came to India through the northwest part of our country around 2500 years ago. Children, these people, they came here and they began to call that the Indus, this Indus called further the Hindos or the Indos, and the land thus began to call that the east of this river is called India further. This is how, gradually the land began to call the Indus, the people who were living on the bank of this river. Then the Iranians, subsequently, they began to call the same part of land Hindos or Indos, and thus these words subsequently become India, and the people who had been living on this land were known as Indians. The name Bharat, this is second theory of this word Bharat, how it came to be known as the name of this land. This was used, the word Bharat was used for a group of people who lived in the northwest, and this was also referred in the Rig Veda. Rig Veda is considered as the oldest text in which it was mentioned that the part of a land which was used for a group of people who lived in the northwest So that was came to be known as Bharat. In the earliest composition of this Rig Veda, as it is mentioned this about, later this part was called as the country which is known as Bharat. This is how the two theories, the India and Bharat, came to be known as the same part of a land. Then we come to the second point for today's session, finding out about the past. Students, about the finding about the past, I have already discussed in brief in the beginning of lesson in my previous video. Then let us come to know in detail. There are several ways one can find out about the past. Among them, the important sources are three. One is to search for and read books that were written a long ago. These are called manuscripts. Children, the manuscripts, I think you are aware about it. This word is derived from Latin word, from Latin language. Manu. Manu means hind, and scripts means written. Then it becomes hind written. These were usually written on a palm leaf, or on the specially prepared bark of a tree, which is known as birch. So these were the two things which were used basically in the past to write the manuscripts. So these two, the palm leaves and the bark trees, or the birch which we call, these are very commonly found and grown in the Himalayas. Then over the years, manuscripts were eaten up by insects. So for a long period, these manuscripts which were written on a palm leaf and the birch was subjected to eat up by the insects, and thus they were destroyed. And some of them which were preserved in the temples and monasteries. Children, these books, they were related to all kinds of subjects. Manuscripts were contains the information about various topics and subjects: religious beliefs, practices, and lives of kings. Even medicine, science was also the subject of these manuscripts. Besides, there were epics, poems, plays. Many of these were written in Sanskrit. Others were in Prakrit. Then this is all about the manuscripts. Then whichever the manuscripts could people able to preserve, particularly in the temples and monasteries, So these were subsequently used to find out the informations, and this was become one of the important source of information to the historians. Then children, we come to the second source of information to find about the past. Then it is nothing but inscriptions. We can also study these inscriptions. These are writings on relatively hard surfaces, such as the stones or metal. Sometimes kings got their orders inscribed so that people could see, read, and obey them. Students, this manuscripts was used by the kings to circulate his orders in the kingdom so that the people could read and follow them. There are other kinds of inscriptions too, where men and women recorded what they did. For example, kings often kept records of victories and battles. This could be also called as inscriptions. Then, I think now you might have understood what is manuscripts and inscriptions. So hereafter we move to the third important source of information is archaeology. Children, there were many other things that were made and used in the past, and the one who studied those things made and used over a long time in the past, so he is known as the archaeologist. I would like to repeat it once again, children. The one who studies the things made and used in the past is known as archaeologist. Then why do archaeologists they read and make a study of all these things? The only reason is to find out the informations, to know about the past, how people were living, what were the things people they used in the past, what were their day-to-day activities. Even they wanted to know, the archaeologists, what were the different things those people in the past they came to be associated. Then what are those things? Let us enlist here. Then first one is remains of buildings which were made of stone and bricks. Number 2, paintings and sculptures. Archaeologists also explore and excavate. Children, excavate means to dig the surface of the earth and find out. So thus they got many things further, like tools, weapons, pots, pans, ornaments, and coins. Some of these objects may be made of stone, others were made of bones and a baked clay. So here we come to know many of these things and objects were made of hard substances and imperishable substances. Usually, they survive for a long time. Thus, archaeologists further they started the study about the animals and birds and fish. Why? Just to know about or to find out what people ate in the past. Thus, they found the plants, they survive far and more rarely. Of course, they found about the seeds of grains or pieces of wood which have been burnt and used by those people. So, here we come to know historians, that is, scholars who study the past, often use the word source to refer to the information found from manuscripts, inscriptions, and archaeology. Children, here we come to know once the sources are found, then learning about the past becomes an adventure. Now what we need to do, or the historians they do exactly, first they collect such sources of information, they study it, they go through it in detail, they collect knowledge and information by referring all these, and they compile it systematically in a chronological order. And so historians and archaeologists are like the detectives who use all these sources like clues to find out about our past. So this is all about how to find out about the past. Then, as a summary of these 2 points, students, today in this video we covered 2 important points. One is how we find about the past, that is known as finding out about the past. And the another one is names of the land. Then how the land part of our country came to be known as India and Bharat. And another point was finding out about the past. These thus we could able to complete in this video. So this is enough for today, and the remaining points would be continued in the next video, video number 3. Have a good day. Thank you.